Welcome back to my channel, guys. Today, I want to talk about the bathhouse, the infamous bathhouse. A few months back, I went to a Turkish hamam in Istanbul, Turkey, and I made a video about it. Some of you might have seen it. I'll link to it up here for those of you who have not seen it, if you want some context first before I dive into this subject. But that video had a huge impact on my channel and overnight basically skyrocketed all my numbers, viewership, number of subscribers, and that video is now at almost 100,000 views, which is insane. Um, so I've been reflecting on that experience quite a bit, and it dawned on me coming back from my trip, because first I went to Turkey, then I went to Morocco, and then I finished with Portugal, and then I came home. And it dawned on me when I came home from this trip and that video really took off. First I was like, this is so interesting that this concept of the Turkish hammam, or the bathhouse, a men's bathhouse, that people are really fascinated by this subject. I have never been to a men's bathhouse, nor had I ever been to like a gay sauna or anything like that before this trip. Never experienced anything like that before this trip. And I realized coming back from the trip that it was actually a theme throughout the entire trip, throughout these entire travels. That was the main experience, the main event was being at the Turkish hammam in Istanbul. But when I was in Morocco, there were also hammams, and I just didn't want to check them out. I felt like I got the real deal in Istanbul, so I just didn't have a curiosity. But I did walk past several hammams in Marrakesh. And then interestingly, I didn't share this story before, but when I was in Tangier slash Tanger slash Tangier, because I learned that it's pronounced differently in like every culture, even in American English versus British English, there's a different way to pronounce it. So I'm just going to pronounce it the French way to keep it simple and easy for me. Tanger. When I went to Tanger, which is northern coast of Morocco, literally an hour away by ferry from Spain. When I was there, my final night, I didn't meet any guys when I was there, but I did use the apps and had the same experience as Marrakesh, where guys were blowing up my phone, my grinder, which, felt kind of nice. The final night, this guy reached out to me, and he was sexy, this Moroccan guy, and he wanted to meet up. And he wanted to meet me in a Turkish hammam, in a bathhouse in Tanger, right? The reason he wanted to meet me in this bathhouse is that he did not feel comfortable coming to my hotel, because my hotel, apparently, they sort of notoriously don't allow guests, particularly Moroccan guests. If you didn't watch my videos on Morocco, uh, it's not only is it taboo to be gay, but it's like punishable by law, technically, if you're caught doing something gay. Now, how often is this law practiced? How often do people get in trouble? Who knows, right? It's probably one of those things where it's here and there, somebody's kind of chosen to be made an example. Um, and I think it's probably one of those things where the law really is applied differently to Moroccan citizens versus visitors. But he was basically like, yeah, I'm not coming through. I'm not risking it. I mean, they have cameras in that hotel everywhere. I can't just like mess around. I'm a Moroccan citizen. So he literally was like, how about we meet at a bathhouse? And when I looked up this bathhouse, and I really wanted to meet him. Oh my God, he was so sexy. When I looked up this bathhouse, first of all, it was like miles away, and there's no Uber in Morocco. So I was like, okay, so I'm gonna have to like go to the front desk, get a cab. Like, this is an effort. But it was so ironic. what an eerie coincidence that when I looked it up, it wasn't just a bathhouse, it was like a Turkish hamam, like in the style of a Turkish hamam. And its name even was a Turkish name that I recognized. So I was like, wow, what a bizarre coincidence that I went to a Turkish hammam in Istanbul. The fact that this guy wanted to meet me in one and that it happened to be in a Turkish style with a Turkish name, I was like, that's kind of that, like, what a weird coincidence, right? Anyway, I ended up not meeting with him. Trust me, I wanted to meet him, but I was just like, I can understand the thing about not wanting to come to somebody's hotel in a more conservative country and all of that. But in my mind, I was like, between my hotel room and a bathhouse, like I would feel a lot less safe in a bathhouse in a country where it's punishable by law to do gay stuff. Like that seems a lot scarier to me to risk that. And when I looked up that hammam, the reviews were awful. People were like, "It's dirty. The people working there are rude." Um, so I was just like, the stars are not aligned. It's my last night in Tanger. I was also still recovering from a cold. I'm like, it's just not meant to be. I didn't meet up with this guy, although I somewhat regret it now. Now that I'm back in Miami and it's like crickets. Wait, I don't like how my hair looks. Let's hold on. See? Oh my god. I feel like this is how the video started, and then the hair just kind of settled into its bizarre own little shape. Hold on. I just shampooed, so my hair is more fragile than usual. Here we go. I might have to keep making adjustments throughout this video. What a mess. So anyway, that happened in Morocco. And then my final stop of the trip was Portugal. I went to Lisbon. And in Lisbon, 5 blocks, maybe even less than 5 blocks from my hotel, there was a bathhouse. Although here it was advertised as a gay sauna, at least on Google Maps. Now, from the outside, interestingly, it was more discreet than I would think a place that's advertised as a gay sauna on Google Maps would, how it would present itself. But you still could tell that like something's going on here. Like, is this a nightclub? Like, it looked sort of sexy and alluring from the outside. This big red wall, but like translucent red. Like the window was red, but you can't really see in, but you want to know what's inside. So I passed it a couple of times because it was literally right in the neighborhood, and I was like, this is a sign. Like, this is a sign. What are the chances that I had this crazy once in a lifetime experience in a Turkish hammam in Istanbul? Then this guy in Morocco wants to meet me in a bathhouse, and now there's this gay sauna just a few blocks from my hotel. Like, I should probably go check it out. Curiosity got the best of me, and I went to check it out. Let me just say, this place was like night and day compared to the Turkish hammam in Istanbul. Now, obviously, there are fundamental differences, right? The Turkish hammam I went to, I talked about in that video, the bathhouse video, a couple months back. Historic building, historic hammam, allegedly been there since the 1400s. So it's obviously going to look different, not as modern, not as more ancient. This gay sauna, super modern. You come in and they give you a wristband, but it's a magnetic wristband, and that opens your locker in the locker room. So that way you don't have to lug around a key, you don't have to remember a code or anything. You literally just go, bloop, and it opens the locker. Very cool, by the way. I was very impressed by that modernity. You open the locker and you have everything you need. There's like flip-flops waiting for you. There's a towel, blah, blah, blah. So I claimed my locker, and then I proceeded into the premises, and your typical sort of amenities, right? There's a steam room, there was a sauna. There was also this gigantic maze, this labyrinth. I'm sure you can imagine what happens in this maze and why they have it as a maze. It sounds maybe cool in theory, but I personally was not a fan because it was so dark in there that I literally couldn't see where I was going. Like, I literally would bump into a wall or bump into other humans. And I guess for some people that's like, ooh, it's like being in a back alley. Was not my vibe. Um, I just think it was so interesting how different it was from that Turkish hammam in Istanbul, in that at that hammam there was still discretion. it's really just in the corners of the steam room that stuff was happening. But like out in the open, in the main rooms, where guys are just like bathing at the open sinks, nothing was happening. It was just like a regular PG, I guess PG bathhouse. And yet at this gay sauna in Portugal, in Lisbon, stuff was happening everywhere, like everywhere, everywhere, and hardcore stuff. Like you can hear a lot of stuff happening. For me personally, it wasn't attractive, all of this, because it was like too in my face, if that makes sense. Like the lack of discretion, the fact that you know what, it's almost like fast food. It's like fast food versus, saving your appetite for a really nice three-course dinner. I don't know if this makes sense. And I'm sure some of you in the comments are going to be like, oh, you're too prudish, you're too this, you're too that. And that's fair. Listen, to each his own. But interestingly, at this gay sauna in Lisbon, I got turned off by how intense it was, but also the fact that despite that intensity, I didn't feel like a warmth or a connection. It's almost like it was all about fast food, sexual action, but none of the sensuality that I experienced and saw at the Turkish Hamam in Istanbul. Despite guys walking around everywhere giving me and whoever else the eye, I felt like a zombie like energy at this gay sauna that I did not experience at the Turkish Hamam in Istanbul. So, by the way, this gay sauna, I stayed maybe 30 minutes and then I left. Like I was disenchanted. I wasn't feeling it. I also just didn't connect with anybody. If it makes any sense to you, it almost felt like the real life version, the in-person version of Grindr or like one of these apps. In that, again, this fast food idea of you have all these options, but it's like low-hanging fruit options. It's like it's too in your face, it's too accessible, and there's none of the build-up or the chemistry or the courtship. Not to say that everybody in that Turkish hammam was in Istanbul was all about courtship, but there was something energetically that just felt different to me. Just my opinion. The irony is not lost on me that in my gay travel videos on my channel here, when I talked about Morocco, Turkey, and Portugal, I discussed how in Portugal I felt a disconnect, which was ironic because Portugal is pretty gay friendly. I mean, gay marriage is legal. It's not taboo to be gay in Portugal the way it is in Morocco and in Turkey. And yet this disconnect that I felt in Portugal using the apps, I had that same experience at the gay sauna where I wasn't feeling it. I didn't connect. And I find that so just ironic, right? That in the countries where it was more taboo to be gay, in Turkey and in Morocco, not only did I feel and receive a lot more interest from men, but it's like I felt more connected to that interest. It was more alluring. A psychologist would have a field day with this, right? I mean, is it just the fact that when something is taboo, it's more exciting, it's more alluring? Is it that in a more traditional old school culture, there is more discretion and modesty around sex? And therefore there's kind of a dance to it versus this idea of the fast food, the grinder hookup, the left swipe, right swipe, sort of addictive, impulsive behavior. And who knows, there might even be an element to the fact that that gay sauna in Lisbon was so modern that it almost felt like a gym, like a modern day gym with the lockers, and it was very hygienic, by the way, super clean. Maybe that creates sort of a sterile energy and affects the psychology of the men in there. Whereas, again, that Turkish hammam in Istanbul, you're in a historic building and something just feels more simple and even traditional about the environment, and that maybe affects your sexuality a certain way. So coming home from this trip, I was like, wow, 3 countries out of 3. Never been to a men's only bathhouse in my life. I've only ever been to a bathhouse once before, but it wasn't men's only. There's one in Miami, which is like, frankly, it's dull compared to what I experienced in Istanbul. So I came back from my trip thinking, wow, 3 countries out of 3, bathhouses or gay saunas or hammams, all of the above, this umbrella term of bathhouse, uh, was a theme in each country, which is bizarre because it's never been a theme before for me traveling. I've never been to one of these places. And it makes you wonder, is that just like the universe sort of unlocks things for you when you're ready, especially when it comes to sexuality. And I'm still evolving, as I'm sure, those of you watching who are gay, it's like, this is still it's still very much a journey for me in my 30s of unlocking doors and walls lowering and still going through a lot of unlearning from the childhood shame and all that. I would have never been ready for these environments like, let's say 5 years ago. But how compelling that boom, boom, boom in a row, country after country, this came up as a theme. And it just was like accessible, calling my name through a guy on Grinder or through being a couple blocks away from my hotel. Just so interesting. I'm curious, as always, to hear your thoughts on this. Have you ever been to a gay sauna, a men's only bathhouse? If you're somebody who frequents these places, I'm wondering if you've also noticed this difference between the more historic hammams in a place like Turkey versus these gay saunas that, frankly, Western Europe is kind of, I feel like, notorious for. Like, it's a thing in Western Europe. I have a friend who's also told me that in Canada it's a big thing, and these are like free for alls, and guys are basically going at it like rabbits. Let's keep this conversation going in the comments, and I'll catch you guys next time.